Hi everybody, welcome back to class 2. This is the penetration testing and methodology course, and this class is titled as types of pen testing and its strategies. I have divided this class into two parts, and in this class I will go over blue team versus red team, what are the key differences there. Then I will talk about types of pen testing. After that, I'll walk you through the strategies of penetration testing. Then in the end, we will talk about external penetration testing and internal security assessments. All right, so let's begin. First topic I want to cover is blue teaming and red teaming. So this is a word which you will hear a lot when in the penetration testing field. So what is blue teaming and what is red teaming? So on a broader spectrum of penetration testing can either be overt or covert. These two types of penetration testing can commonly be referred to as blue teaming and red teaming. So blue teaming involves performing of your penetration testing with the knowledge and consent of the organization and its IT staff. So that is what blue teaming is. And on the contrary, red teaming involves performing a penetration test without the knowledge of the organization or its IT staff and with permission from upper management. So that's what the key differences lies in here. So your blue teaming is basically you have full consent from the organization's IT staff. Red teaming is without the knowledge of the organization's IT staff, but with the permission from the upper management. So you have some kind of permission level there, but it's the IT staff doesn't know about it. All right. So blue teaming is the least expensive and most frequently used. On the other hand, red teaming may be conducted with or without any warning. So that is like blue teaming happens most often. A lot of companies, they hire blue teams to penetrate to do some kind of penetration testing. So another key thing to know about blue teaming is that the primary role of this team is to think about how surprise attacks might occur. So how can you do the surprise attacks on an organization? Well, as red teaming may be announced or unannounced. So it is supposed to detect network and system vulnerabilities and check security by from an attacker's perspective, and basically how an attacker would approach the network or the system or how an attacker would access your information. So that is how red teaming is done. So next let's look at the types of penetration testing. So it is very important to identify the testing into I would say two main areas. One is black box and white box penetration testing. So I'm sure you're familiar with overall black box and white box testing concepts, but let me give you a little bit more details around it. So the concept of black box testing is based on assumption that the tester has no prior knowledge, right? No prior knowledge or information about the system. So that is the main key or concept behind black box testing. So in this sense, black box testing simulates a true hacking attack, beginning with nothing but the organization or the corporate name. That's what they have, and then from here, the ethical hacker, you can call them, basically gathers information about the network and the business from many sources. It could be outside, inside sources, as many sources they can gather information from. This can include your publicly available information, such as your social information, your website, which is your information on some certain websites, on certain media publications, if you're actively doing blogs and so forth, right? So in order to simulate real-world attacks and minimize the false positives, you can call them, penetration testers may choose to undertake the black box testing and map the networks while enumerating services. It could be through shared file systems and also operating systems discretely. So additionally, the penetration tester can undertake war dialing to detect listening to like modems and war driving to discover vulnerability in access points. So in these activities, or you can say these all activities are legal if they are within the scope of the object. Because in these activities, you can always, kind of step over toes when it comes down to the legality perspective of it. So you have to be 100% sure that this is part of your scope of the project. Because war dialing and I got you familiar with war dialing, right? So war dialing, when you're trying to access their networks and routers, that could be effective. But war driving also the same way. So you have to make sure this is part of the legal agreement. So for students who are not aware a little bit about war dialing and war dialing, which is basically it's a technique when you're using a modem to automatically scan a list of telephone numbers using basically dialing every number in a local area code to search for computers. And basically bulletin board systems could be used for computer servers and fax machines, etc. So you go and basically it's called war dialing. You dial and you keep on dialing, you go through it, right? On the other hand, we have, I mentioned another term called war driving. So war driving is an act of basically searching for your Wi-Fi networks by a person in a moving vehicle. So somebody is in a moving vehicle and he's basically war driving. He's driving his vehicle and he's basically searching for open Wi-Fi networks or weak Wi-Fi networks using a portable computer or a smartphone. So that's what war dialing, which is basically dialing the phone numbers, and war driving, when somebody's just going and looking for access points throughout a particular community or an office space or organization or something. Okay. So next up is your white box pen testing. So just say an organization needs to access its security against a specific kind of attack or a specific target, you may say. So the organization may provide information to the penetration testing team. So that's what they do. Okay, we know exactly what we want to test. So here is the information around what kind of attack we want you to do against our system. So the information provided by the organization can include network topology documents, asset of the inventory, what they have on the network, and also the valuation information of each of those assets or the topology or any other information associated with it. So typically an organization would opt out for this when it wants to complete audit of its security. That's when the white box pen testing comes into place, when somebody's doing a security audit, you may say. So as I said, in white box testing, the testers can access the client's system, the design and also implementation documentation, which may include a listing of source code, your manuals. It could also be your topological diagrams, of your network, as I mentioned before. So this helps basically ethical hackers and pen testers to adopt a structured and formal approach, because they know exactly how the whole landscape is, right? And so they do a very structured and formal approach while doing ethical hacking or doing penetration testing. So the tester initially verifies the authenticity of the information provided as input for the network evaluation. So that is how a tester basically goes and does a one clean sweep over it. So another kind of testing is there that's called the gray box testing, right? So gray box testing can be contrasted with your black box testing, and a scenario in which the tester has no knowledge or access to the internal working of a program. Or it could be also your white box testing, that basically is a scenario in which your internal particulars are fully known. So gray box testing is commonly used in penetration tests, a lot. And gray box testing is considered to be a non-intrusive. So it's not an intrusive, it's a non-intrusive and unbiased because it is not, because the main thing is it does not require that a tester have access to the source. So it's non-intrusive, so there is no intrusion done there, and there is no bias, so it's unbiased, and they don't have access to the code. So with respect to your internal processes, gray box testing is basically is done, and it also treats a program as a black box that must be analyzed from outside of the environment. So during a gray box test, the person may know the system components and also interact, but does not have complete knowledge about the internal programs and functionalities, right? So as a tester, you have knowledge about your system components and how they interact, but the internals of it, how they're working, the functions, the operations, you have no knowledge about that. So a clear distinction exists between the developer and the tester, thereby minimizing the risk of personal conflicts to start with, all right? So basically in this, the testing that is carried out following a formal announcement is called announced testing. I mean, if it's formally announced, it's called announced testing. So in this type of testing, the announcement is made to all the members of the organization, including all stakeholders. So the security staff usually joins the penetration testing team to conduct these audits, which are done by the announced testing. It is basically an attempt to compromise systems on the client with the cooperation and knowledge. So a penetration test basically tries to compromise the systems, client systems, of course, who they are working with their cooperation. And of course, the whole, everybody who's involved has full knowledge that this is happening right now in their company, in their organization, right?